think the word for that is semi-controlled chaos, right? The second reading today is taken from the 10th chapter of Matthew. Specifically, verses 24 through 39. Jesus says, "A disciple is not above the teacher, nor a servant above his master. It is enough for the disciple to be like his teacher and the servant like his master. If they had called the master of the house Beelzebul, how much more will they malign those of his household? So have no fear of them. For nothing is covered that will not be revealed, or hidden that will not be known. What I tell you in the dark, utter in the light, and what you hear whispered, proclaim upon the housetops. And do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather fear him who can destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? And not one of them will fall to the ground without your Father's will. But even the hairs of your head are numbered. Fear not, therefore, you are of more value than many sparrows. So everyone who acknowledges me before men, I will also acknowledge before my Father who is in heaven. But whoever denies me before men, I will also deny before my Father who is in heaven." Now, stay with me here. "Do not think that I have come to bring peace on earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. I have come to set man against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and a man's foes will be those of his own household. He who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and he who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he who does not take his cross and follow me is not worthy of me. He who finds his life will lose it, and he who loses his life for my sake will find it." I need 1 or 2 or 3 people to pray for intercessions. That'll be a clean vessel while I'm preaching, please. Thank you, Brian, Lolita, Dan. Thank you. There's one more text I want to add to these today and then sort of weave them together. And this last one is from an author by the name of Khalil Gibran. You've heard of him before from his book, The Prophet. I want you to hear this, and you'll begin to see a theme threaded through all 3 of these texts. If you haven't sort of seen, there are actually a couple of themes, but this is a great one. Listen to this. "When love beckons to you, follow him. Though his ways are hard and steep, and when his wings enfold you, yield to him. Though the sword hidden among his pinions may wound you. And when he speaks to you, believe in him, though his voice may shatter your dreams as the north wind lays waste to the garden. For even as love crowns you, so shall he crucify you. Even as he is for your growth, so is he for your pruning. Even as he ascends to your height and caresses your tenderest branches that quiver in the sun, so shall he descend to your roots and shake them in their clinging to the earth. Like sheaves of corn, he gathers you unto himself. Love threshes you to make you naked. He shifts you to free you from your husks. He grinds you to whiteness. He kneads you as the dough until you are pliant. And then he assigns you, love does, to his sacred fire, that you may become sacred bread for God's sacred feast. And all these things shall love do unto you, that you may know the secrets of your heart. And in that knowledge, become a fragment of life's heart." I had tremendous difficulty this week with these texts. In fact, as texts go, I cannot think of any more difficult, perhaps one, more difficult than these particular texts, most notably the Matthew text. The idea, the concept that Jesus came to bring the sword, that there came to be a point, there comes a point in our lives when a choice must be made. And it's not a choice, a definitive, clear choice, I have to make it today and I got to choose between family or God, family or Jesus, and boom, there I go. But it's more a choice that governs your life. You may never have to actually walk away from your family, Your children, your father, your mother, your brother, your wife, your sister, whatever. You may not actually have to walk away or distance yourself from them physically. But it may require, and your life, if you haven't encountered it already, it may require, in fact it does require, an orientation to something simply bigger than you and yours, or specifically yours, your family, your brother, your mother. The point that Jesus is making in this text is it's a matter of orientation, it's a matter of priorities. And what Jesus is saying is quite simply, if you're not oriented to God first, if you're not oriented to Jesus first, even above your own blood, your own flesh and blood, if you are not oriented to Him first, you are not oriented to Him at all. It's one of those weeks when you don't like being a preacher. It's one of those weeks when you really don't like it because you've got a people that you love. Believe it or not, people, and I've mentioned this to one couple this week, believe it or not, I lose sleep over you people. I'm not kidding in the least. I lose sleep over them. I lose sleep over your marriages. I lose sleep over your life dreams. I lose sleep over you people. And I'm not the only one. I'm not even your blood. I'm not even your parents. And am I saying this because I'm special? No. What I'm saying is that you people matter to me. And then I get nailed with this text. Where I'm called to fulfill my vocation that God has put in my heart, in my gut, in my viscera. I am called not to caress you and not to tenderly, gently lead you as a shepherd leads, but I am called to speak that prophetic voice, which is the other job, one of the other jobs of a spiritual leader, is not just to shepherd and tend, but to kick in the behind. To hold up the mirror to you and say, is this who you really want to be? Now, ultimately, it's not to condemn. It's not to say you aren't fulfilling God's role. Mine is simply to hold up the mirror and ask you, are you fulfilling God's role for your life? I'm just the mirror bearer. So I'm stuck with these two texts this week. And then I threw in that last one by Gibran because it powerfully articulates the nature of love, of God's love for us, and of life. And I wanted to use that Jeremiah text today because it's so powerful. And this is now the third out of 4 weeks where we've seen this theme. And I just want to highlight this part briefly. But in that opening verse, listen to what we're saying. This notion that suffering doesn't just happen. It's not just sent by the devil. It's not just something we do. Listen to this verse. And we saw it in the Hosea text. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago? O Lord, thou hast deceived me. God has deceived me. And I was deceived. You are stronger than me, and you have prevailed over me. Again, we're seeing this theme again of God sending that something to break us open. It's not just that suffering happens and God redeems it. No, God sends it so that we might be cracked open. Okay, so what we're seeing, getting to the main theme here, what we're seeing in these two texts, the Matthew text and the Jeremiah text, what we're seeing is two notions essentially. And you could take these any number of ways. And I wrestled over it, and I prayed over it. And what direction do you want me to go with this, Lord? Because the truth is, there was the third text. There was the Genesis text where it's telling about Abraham. You remember we had the Sarah story, right? And how Sarah gives birth to Isaac. Well, we also, this week, it was the Abraham text giving birth to Ishmael and the birth of Ishmael. Well, we know, don't we, that Ishmael became basically the father of Islam. So we know that 3 now of the world's major religions dovetail back into Abraham. Ishmael, Isaac. Isaac's strain is the Hebrew Israelite Jew strain, which then branches into the Christian strain. So we've got 3 of the world's major religions dovetailing back into this one story in the book of Genesis. And how poignant and how timely it would have been to preach on that one. So I'm stuck. I got Jeremiah, this powerful text of this guy basically saying, God, you have rent me in half. And you've got people, and there are people trying to eat me alive. When I speak the word that you put in my heart. But if I don't speak the word, I die from the inside. It eats me up. So you got 3 texts. Well, I did sort of stick the One of Ishmael and Islam, maybe stick that one away. That's another day. But these two texts, Matthew